If you've been following our channel, you probably saw our video analysis of the new Super Mario Bros. 2 screenshots that came out recently. And if you haven't, click here to check it out. Just don't forget to come back afterward. In that video, we poked and we prodded to uncover everything the screenshots had to hide and more somehow. But it seems we still missed a few things, as pointed out by you guys. So now we're back with part 2 to cover everything we missed. Let's bring in the screenshots. And let's start off with the most famous shot of them all so far, the Raccoon Mario one. So viewer Boido pointed out something interesting. Mario's flying even though the P meter is only half full, or is that half empty? In either case, it looks like Mario shouldn't be in the air, which is how it worked in Super Mario Bros. 3. But if you look closely, you might notice that once your flight time ran out, the meter actually dropped to 0 instead of resetting instantly. Let's get a close-up on that. Did you catch it? We're guessing the same thing is basically happening in New Super Mario Bros. 2, except here it looks like Mario might retain his flying pose as he slowly descends instead of switching to his jumping position as in Mario 3. But viewer DarkArts757 has another idea. He suggests that the meter actually slowly decreases as you fly, showing exactly how much flight time you have left. This makes a lot of sense, and maybe it's actually the case. Now speaking of the P meter, Boido also noticed that it only appears in this one screenshot. That suggests that it only appears when you actually have the raccoon suit, which is a small change from Mario 3 where it was always present. There is one other very small detail Boido noticed. As we established in our previous video, this is almost certainly the game's first level, and yet Mario somehow already has 62 coins. This likely just confirms he can come back and replay levels unlike in Mario 3, but this is nothing new for the new Super Mario Bros. Games, but it's good to know regardless. Okay, and that wraps up the first picture, on to the next one. Crazy Scruffy 9001 noticed something odd about the left spiderweb that I completely missed. If you look close, you'll notice there's a strand missing in the bottom left, whereas the spiderweb on the right is totally intact. Crazy Scruffy suggests that this might be because the spiderwebs unravel the longer you cling to them, forcing you to move quickly, and I think he has a strong chance of being right. This will certainly make climbing a little bit more hectic than the fences in previous games. Moving on, let's take a look at the tree on the right. Zora Business noticed that it almost looks as if we can see right into the tree itself, which is certainly possible. Perhaps it can actually jump around inside the trees like in Donkey Kong Country 3. Though there is one other possible explanation. If you look again, it looks like there might actually be two trees, a dark one in front and a lighter one in the back, positioned just perfectly, giving the illusion they're one and the same. It's hard to tell which one is right, but the spider hanging in front of it and not inside it might offer a hint. And with that, we're done with the second screenshot, on to number 3. To start things off, Super Pew's brothers noticed that the pinkish pipes are rather unusual, and as far as we can tell, have never been in a Mario game before. Maybe they work differently in some way? Probably not, since most Mario games use differently colored pipes pretty arbitrarily, but it's something to note all the same. Speaking of colors, I mistakenly referred to the Koopa Troopas and Piranha Plants as yellow, when as several viewers pointed out, they actually look more golden. Yeah, it's a small detail, but it might actually be a pretty important distinction provided what's in screenshot 4. Yep, the enemies from the previous screenshot are the same color as Mario is here. Now as I mentioned in the first video, Mario might be gold because of a new power-up he has. And iBrody159 took this idea a step further, suggesting that the golden enemies might also have the same power-up, perhaps making them invulnerable to certain attacks. In fact, it's quite possible the game is built largely around this new power-up, similar to how nearly every enemy type in Super Mario 3D Land had a raccoon tail slapped onto it at some point. Lending credence to this idea is the fact that the logo itself seems to emphasize the gold color, as Evil Bob pointed out. Sure, it's only a slight shade different from the original New Super Mario Bros. Logo, but it's also a drastic change from the newer New Super Mario Bros. Wii logo. Of course, it's always possible that we're simply looking way too deep into things. And one knock against this idea is that the enemies don't appear to shine in the same way that Mario does here, but it might still indicate something else, such as a similar vulnerability, or perhaps granting special powers, like how the yellow Koopas in Super Mario World gave Yoshi the ability to stomp the ground. But let's say it is a Mario-only power-up. What does it do? Pikmin24 proposes that it might turn anything Mario touches into coins. Bullet Bill 89 has a different take, suggesting it's a power provided to those who die too many times, similar to the silver Tanuki suit in Super Mario 3D Land, which appeared when you died 5 times and made you invincible. Or it just might be the usual star item, as I mentioned in the last video. Okay, enough about that gold stuff, there's still one more thing I want to talk about. In the last video, I mentioned how it appears that Mario might be able to hop between the foreground and background, as indicated by a couple of things in this picture. Unfortunately, one of the things that I pointed out were these two blocks right here, which I suggested might be question blocks far off in the distance. Some viewers, such as Gavin Rose, instead suggested this might mark the return of the mini mushroom, since it looked like an area that only Mini Mario might be able to access. But the Jacko brothers offered what I think might be the best explanation. It's probably just a thin platform that likely extends off-screen, similar to the one in picture number 3. And with that, we conclude our second analysis of the new Super Mario Bros. 2 screenshots. I think we finally covered it all now, but as always, give us your thoughts by posting in the comments. Otherwise, stay tuned to GameXplain.com for more on new Super Mario Bros. 2.